Welcome to Cigar Reviews and such. Tonight, we're unpacking a couple 5-packs that I just got. I think you're going to like the offerings that we have tonight. They are two very renowned companies in the cigar world. One of them has a rich Cuban family history, and the other has a rich American history, and so it's going to be a nice little journey for us to go through these 2 5-packs, and I'll get to show you how I undo my 5-packs. They are typically wrapped differently. Each manufacturer does them a little differently, so you want to be careful not to rip the actual individual wrapper of the cigar and the cellophane that's around it. And I'll show you how I do it. And we're also going to look at a couple tools and maybe some more classic ways of lighting your cigar tonight. So let's get into it. So the first 5-pack that I received is the Torano, which is a family name. Torano Exodus 1959 silver. You can see the silver band on it. They also have a Exodus 1959 gold. And the wonderful thing about the Torano family name is that back in 1916, the father of the family, Santiago Torano, began making cigars in Cuba, and then through the revolution in 1959, and that's where they have this. That's where they've used this name, Exodus 1959. They were they left Cuba, and they began a factory in the Dominican Republic. And then, fast forward a generation or two, it's about 4 generations of Toranos that are involved in the family factory. And in 1990, Carlos Torano, who has since passed, he started the family name Torano brand. And they have several different blends, and this one here I'm really looking forward to trying it. I have not tried this cigar. I have had Torano or two, but this one I'm looking forward to trying. Let's open up the pack. So let's just see how this one is sealed. Okay. All right, so it's glued. So sometimes you can on these types, if you undo the glue on this top seal, you don't have to take out a pair of scissors, which I prefer not using the scissors. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, so now it's undone on top. And there we go. And now the 5 cigars are freed from their package. So that's the package that it came in. We'll get rid of that. And there we have 5. We'll put one on display here for you. Put one on display on the humidor. And this is one of my favorite sizes. One of the reasons that I did purchase this. I did want to try this blend, but more than that, I really love this size. So this is called a Corona. Actually, they call this one the Corona Grande. That's their name, their delineation of this particular size. And this is a 6.1 inch long vitola, and the ring gauge on it is 46. So, as I've shown you before on this channel, a typical Robusto, Toro, and Churchill are typically a 50 ring gauge, sometimes 52, sometimes 54. When it starts to get up there, the name starts to change at times. But this is a 46 ring gauge, and it just feels a little nicer in my hand and definitely in my mouth. So I do like that size personally. And they do have Coronas that are 44, 42. That's, it might sound like very small differences, but I do like the 46 over the 44 and the 42. And but I do enjoy the thinner ring gauge. So this cigar, another reason that I was really interested in trying this cigar is that the wrapper on this cigar is a Criollo 98. Now, Criollo is a tobacco from Cuba. So many of the original Cuban growers of tobacco and cigar makers, when they did Exodus, when they did leave Cuba, they actually took many of them took bags of seeds of their tobacco, because their vision and their lifelong what they felt was their calling to grow tobacco and make cigars. They brought it with them, and so they began to plant these seeds in different communities like Dominican Republic. I believe that was the first, and that's where the Torano family factory is, in the DR. And the Criollo seeds, I guess just through the different soil and different area that they were growing them in, maybe was reacting differently, and they started to get mold and some disease. And so they combined the Criollo seed with Habano, and it actually helped to prevent the disease and the mold. And so that's where the Criollo 98 comes from. I guess it was done in 1998. I'm not sure, but I think that was the case. And that's where they created this Criollo. And it is known to be like a medium smooth, maybe medium to mild blend, or medium to mild tasting wrapper, the Criollo, and it also has like a little sweetness to it. So I'm curious to try one of these, and when I do, I'll probably do a review on it and let you all know. But so this is the Torano family Exodus 1959, and I'm going to take a couple of them and move them to my bag, just to show you how that works. And then I'm going to take a couple the other three and put them in my humidor. Actually, I'll leave one out, and we'll get to the next 5-pack. The next 5-pack that we're going to look at is the AVO Syncro Nicaragua. And like I mentioned, the Torano that we just talked about is the Exodus 1959, and it is a Corona, or a Corona Grande, 6.1 inch by 46 ring gauge. And the AVO is actually a box pressed Robusto. So it's box pressed. We talked about that a little bit before, how these were in the beginning possibly accidentally made because they were pushed down too hard in the box and flattened out a little bit. And these are a 52 ring gauge. So let's do the unpacking of these. And again, some of the different 5-packs will have like a seal on top. Sometimes you have to get a scissor in there to remove it. But these two that we're revealing tonight are pretty simple. Just a little glue. Like I mentioned, I like when I don't have to use the scissor, just so I don't risk ripping into the cellophane wrapper of an individual cigar. You want to take it easy, be gentle. You want to rip too hard and mess your cigar up. There we go. And now these 5 cigars, and that's typically how cigars come in a 5-pack. This has a little piece of cardboard in it. Oftentimes, cigar manufacturers will put a very thin sheet of cedar in their 5-packs, and that's kind of nice too. Has a nice scent. Even when I opened up my humidor earlier, I had that beautiful scent of cedar. And this has an additional wrapper on it. Just slide that off. So very nicely protected. I'll move this Torano up here. And this is the AVO Syncro Nicaragua. Now, AVO is a very interesting story as well. There is a jazz piano player named AVO Uvezian, a jazz piano player, and I guess he fell in love with cigars, but didn't like the price of Cuban cigars back in the 80s. And in 1987, he approached Davidoff to create a more affordable cigar. And he put his name on it. So that's where AVO comes from. And it is produced in the Davidoff factory, which is, again, in the Dominican Republic, and is really makes wonderful, wonderful cigars. So if you ever get an opportunity to smoke a Davidoff, you will smoke an excellent cigar. And if you can't afford a Davidoff, get yourself an AVO. It's made in the same factory. And this is a wonderful cigar as well. So it is a Robusto, and it is box pressed. As you can see, it's kind of more shaped like a rectangle, a little flatter on top, not as wide on the side. So if we took the regular cylinder shaped Corona that we have here, you see it's fully round, and the AVO has the edges to it because it is box pressed. I have gotten to enjoy this cigar. This is an Ecuador Connecticut wrapper. Now, you might look at that wrapper if you've watched my videos or you just know cigars, and you say, well, that looks a little dark for Connecticut. The thing about Ecuadorian Connecticut is that they are not shaded the way Connecticut's are shaded. So they are not covered in cloth, but they are shaded by nature, by trees. And so this one, obviously, or these leaves, obviously, even though Ecuador, Connecticut, they were grown in a little more sunlight, and therefore it has a little darker, richer look than the more tan Connecticut's that are covered in shade or shade grown. But this cigar is another, I would say, medium. This one they're claiming is more of a medium to mild or mild to medium, whichever direction you want to go. This one I would consider to be more medium, and again, also must have little mild features as well. It's a very creamy, an excellent cigar. By the way, I don't think I mentioned that one of the cigar readers, it wasn't Cigar Aficionado, I forgot which one it was, but this 1959 silver got a 92 rating. So it's definitely a good quality cigar. One of the fillers, the reason that this is called the Nicaragua, one of the fillers of this cigar is from the Amatepe region of Nicaragua, which is rich with volcanic soil. And so it's one of those that, they really talk about the flavors that come from that kind of soil. And so this one has that richness to it, and like I said, I have had one of these before, and it's an excellent smoke. This is the AVO Syncro Nicaragua. And now I'd like to put a couple of these in my bag, and then put the rest in my humidor. This is such a great bag for cigars. Got all the tools that I need. I even have a couple small Boveda packs underneath to keep humidity okay in there. I'm assuming it's not perfect, but it's just a way to keep your cigars fresh. And now we'll open up the humidor again, put the rest of these in. I don't know if you can see, my humidor is right around where it needs to be, right around 70. And we'll put these AVOs here in the Robusto section. Classic looking key there. Now, the last thing I wanted to do, hopefully you enjoyed seeing those two cigars, and I can highly recommend the AVO Syncro Nicaragua. I believe the one that I did get to smoke was a gift from someone, so that made it even a better smoke. And now I'd like to just talk about maybe more classic ways of lighting your cigar. So one of course is match. And most times when cigar folks are lighting with a match, they will double it up so that they get a little more flame to work with, as it takes a little longer to light a cigar than like a cigarette. And then the other thing you can do is you can use a little cedar stick and get that going. And that is supposed to add a little flavor to your cigar. I've only done the cedar stick a couple times, But those are two nice ways to light your cigar. And then I've shown you several times the torch lighters, but this is a traditional lighter, even though this does use butane and not lighter fluid, which is nice because it's a cleaner burn than lighter fluid. A lot of the soft flame lighters are lighter fluid, and so it's a little stinky. But the butane is a cleaner, soft flame, and I do like to bring this out once in a while and light it up at the cigar lounge. And then the last thing I wanted to show you tonight is a tool. And I've shown this on different videos, but I figured if you're new, you'll get to take a look as well. So this is a great tool because if you have a cigar case like mine, you can fit it into one of the spots for your, if you only want to carry 3 cigars, you can use the 4th slot for this one. But I'm going to show you that I actually have one of these also in that case. And this has a lot of different options. Here is a draw enhancer. So if your cigar is really tight and you're kind of sucking on it like a straw in a milkshake and you're not getting anything out of it, it makes the experience very negative. And so sometimes there's a knot, typically right around the label area. There's a tighter twist of tobacco. And sometimes if you just break through that, and you have to be very precise, you can't go sideways and come out your wrapper, because then you might as well throw that cigar away. But if you get it precisely through there, maybe once or twice, that will oftentimes open up the draw, and you'll start to get better smoke out of it. On this side, there is a punch. So before you light your cigar, if you're not going to use a cutter, you can use a punch. And that you just kind of turn a little bit as you're pressing against the cap of the cigar, and it opens it up nicely. And then the last feature that this multi-tool has is a nub holder. So when you're smoking the cigar, if you're really enjoying it and you're really enjoying the conversation, and you want to just hang out for that extra 10 minutes, and you're tired of burning your fingers, you can use this to hold your cigar and get your money's worth. So that's a really excellent tool. If you don't have one of those, I would recommend it. Or if you have a wonderful son-in-law like I do, he will give you one of these for Christmas. And in this, not only do you have a cutter. This wasn't the cutter that came with this one, but that's where it was. A lighter. And this is one of those torch lighters, 2 flame, which I really like. I actually leave the cutter on this open so I can take this out of here easier. And then this tool, this multi-tool, we'll focus on this here, has a lot of similar features, but I really like the way this one operates. So on this side, we have a small punch. So for the 2 cigars that we looked at tonight, if we were going to punch the Torano, that Corona, we would probably use this small punch and just get that little hole through there and get off that top cap. And then for the AVO, we might turn this around and go for the larger punch. As you can see, it's a little larger for larger ring gauge cigars. So you have two options for the punch, which is nice. And it's not a separate, taking it off. It's right on the unit itself. And then on this side, it has one of those jaw enhancers. I think this one might be a little longer than that one too, but it's nice to have. And then on this side, and this is a little bigger hold, so it's kind of a nicer feel, is one of those nub holders. So that's a really nice tool. Again, both of these are very similar. So if again you don't have the bag that has everything in it, which when I bought that one I didn't, and then I got the bag. Have way too much cigar stuff, but really enjoy the kind of the manly accessories that come with cigar smoking. I wanted to add one thing to my last video. We talked about in the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 27, Jesus said, "My peace I leave with you, not the peace that the world gives." And one of the things I wanted to mention about that is that the world offers many, many forms of peace that are temporary and that many times are counterfeit. Unfortunately, today we live in a very medicated society, and people try to get their peace out of medication, out of alcohol, maybe even out of smoking cigars. And I pray that you realize that there really is no true peace without the peace of Jesus. He gives you peace that the world cannot give. And we used to sing a song that says, "And the world can't take it away." And it is the only everlasting peace. And I pray that you find that in every aspect of your life. Thank you again for joining me in cigar reviews and such. And I hope to see you next time.